I will call to order the Tuesday, September 16th, 2025 meeting of the Middleton Select Board. It is 5:07 p.m. Just a reminder for those in the room, this meeting is being recorded. So first on the agenda is we have warrant 2606 and facilities project warrant number 70.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Warrant 2606 dated September 18th, 2024. On the payroll side of things, totaling in at about $875,000. Just to note a few overtime items listed there from ELD, the fire department, and the police department. Once again, with some of the new members of those departments coming on, we expect to see that start to trend down over the next couple months. For bills payable, about $1,286,000. A lot of those coming through being health insurance premiums, about $260,000 for the school, as well as the assessment for North Shore Tech coming in at $300,000, and the town side health insurance premiums at about $170,000. For facilities project 70, the same date, it's $128,000 total, split between some project design changes as well as the communication tower that you saw go in, I want to say about a month and a half ago at this point, towards the back of the public safety building. As we move through this process, you'll see them continue to draw down pretty significantly. On the construction side, I expect on the next warrant, with intermittent design changes as we come down the home stretch, and frankly, once the contractors in the field start realizing that what was on the plan versus what they built sometimes doesn't mesh, or there's a gap in the design versus what contractor owns A, what contractor owns C, but maybe the designer forgot to call out who was responsible for B, is the easiest way I can put it. So we'll be going through that process, I'd say, over the next 2 to 3 months within the home stretch. And I'll have a further update on the project later in about 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any questions?
I do not.
Move to accept as presented.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, if any? And it is unanimous. Okay, you should have minutes from July 8th, 2025, both executive session 1 and 2. The August 5th meeting, executive session 1 and 2. September 2nd, executive session, as well as our September 2nd meeting, open session, pages 1 and 2. So I don't know if there are any questions or comments that were on the minutes.
And Mr. Chair, I would just note that September 2nd open session is split because there was your select board meeting and then the joint meeting immediately following.
Yes.
Yep.
So, well, yeah, it is, because even though we recessed it technically for purposes of minutes. Okay. Big thank you to everybody for turning all of these minutes around. I know we've had a lot of meetings as well as a lot of executive session that, so thank you for getting those done. So if,
Move to accept as presented.
okay, there is a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, if any? They pass unanimously. Okay, Justin, Town Administrator report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A few items around town. We met a couple weeks ago with our counterparts in Boxford and Topsfield to talk about the Public Health Excellent Grant, PHE grant we've seen pop up over the past couple years. I just want to state that we appreciate their partnership on that crucial initiative, and really what we're trying to do at this point in the game is find, iron out, I guess, the last few wrinkles from an organizational perspective in terms of who answers to who on what, just to make sure that there's oversight, but also that each community kind of retains some sense of autonomy. So we're just working to balance that. I had a meeting with BCA Architects relative to the Flint Public Library Conditions Assessment. We last met in the spring, and at that point in time we had kind of put things on ice. We wanted to see who came in for the new library director and then the facilities director. So I just touched base with them. We kept it going. I let them know that we still are waiting to hire those two crucial components. So we talked a little bit about scope, but we're going to meet again in a couple months. Speaking of the facilities director, we have a few candidates available, and we will be conducting interviews sometime in the last week in September. So we'll be reaching out to them in the coming days to schedule those. Superintendent Goodwin and I have been meeting with other water users in the region. I think I've referenced a few times the task force that's meeting to talk about water resiliency. So we continue to have those meetings. I met with Danvers Water last week to talk about a potential EPA grant, seeing what potential dollars exist there. Where it's a federal agency, we still have access to those grants. So we're going to see if there's an opportunity to pursue that either between Middleton and Danvers or overall through the task force with Senator Tarr. So we'll continue to monitor that. Thank you to Chief Locust and the Patriotic Observances Committee for all of their coordination for the September 11th ceremony. A lot of effort goes into that, as well as DJ Herman is his official stage name, for offering his services to the community. That in particular, I mean, it's always a somber event, but I find personally, as I age, I'm more and more startled at how much younger school-age children are getting, but also how much more aware now that I'm a father myself with a 6-year-old and a 2.5-year-old, that they really have no clue what happened that day, and for me personally, grappling with how do I explain that to a child in a way that's appropriate. It's definitely a challenge. So I appreciate the work of the chief and all the volunteers there. I've been working with the team at the Municipal complex to work through some grading issues, as well as some potential opportunities at the future town green. So once again, now that we're coming in the home stretch and kind of laying eyes on some of these items, there was an issue installing the septic system. We held the contractor to task and had them pull out some of the material and backfill with appropriate material, which created a little bit of delay. That's on them, not on us. But with that delay, we were looking at the grading and realized that the overall slope, it's not terribly harsh, but it's definitely not ideal running from the town hall, which is way up on a hill by the time you make your way down to 114. So what we're looking at is, are there any cost-effective options that we can look at in terms of reworking some of the grading down there without having to pay to do a bunch of additional engineering? More than likely it would be fill, which there's a cost there, it is what it is. But we don't want to pay somebody to redesign something that was already designed. So I've been talking with Bill Renaud about that, the chair of the building committee. It's going to go before the building committee tomorrow evening. They'll discuss it. It'll come back around to the select board for your final blessing on October 7th. Very early ballpark figures, $250,000. Yeah. And I want them to kind of provide a rendering so people can understand the benefit. I want to see the benefit myself a little bit as well. I'm not fully convinced, but the long-term argument is, if you're going to do it once, do it right. And in making that investment, you'll have a better graded open space area.
I know this is going to be talked about at the building committee. Is how much of that cost is fill?
A majority of the cost.
Okay. What about the fill that we have been sitting on for way too many years from the old Hal Manning School that is sitting down at the transfer station?
I don't know where that's been sitting on that site for that long. I don't know if we can transport that and put it somewhere else in town, so we can definitely look into that.
Well, the reason why it's there is because our bylaw didn't allow us
To take it out of town.
Take it out of the town.
Yeah.
And at some point, there was a belief it would be utilized.
I'll see if there's an opportunity there, so we can kill two birds with one stone and get that out of there. I think
Would
that's
actually
worth a
do
while.
something crazy like opening up an area for additional parking
Yeah.
at the transfer station?
Yep. I'll look into it, and I'll talk to the LSP that's working down there as well. So another element of it, though, also is a retaining wall that would have some cost up front that would allow you to pretty much bring the front of the site up by 5 feet, which would then take some of the curse out of the grade.
So what is the grade difference now between the highest point in front of what is going to be the town hall down to the 114 entrance?
It varies. Offhand, I want to say it was something like 6.5%. So it's not, you're not going to look at it and say, oh my God, it's a sledding hill. But also, if you're trying to have an event out there and you're standing out there, you're very much going to be aware that you're kind of standing on a slope. So I'll have them draw it up. You're definitely not committed to pursue it, but I wanted to provide the option anyway, and you all can have a discussion in a couple weeks.
Okay.
That makes
And where
sense.
did the recommendation come from?
building, well, Bill Renault caught it initially. He's gonna bring it to the building committee tomorrow night, so they're gonna.
Well, I thought when, at our last meeting with the report that we got from
Brian LaRoche.
Brian LaRoche, thank you, I thought he gave us a flavor of,
It's been cooking for about a month. And so now I think they have enough data to put forward. At that point in time, it was so up in the air and back of the envelope.
Okay.
But now that we have some details, we'll bring it forward. I was visited by members of the Ipswich River Watershed Association this morning. They'd reached out a couple weeks ago to talk about water resiliency in Middleton. And basically the message I had expressed to them was that we're happy to partner with them in any way that makes sense, but that's also reasonable and sensible for the people of Middleton. And so looking at, potential, I want to say, low-hanging fruit opportunities to conserve water. Not quite a well bylaw or bringing that back anytime soon, but just opportunities for us to kind of chip in from a conservation standpoint. So I'll see if anything comes of that, and I'll bring it forward to the board. Chief Lacoste, who I believe, oh, hey, how's it going? I'm good, thank you. Had mentioned to me that they are in the process of ordering the ladder truck, and that's near completion, right, or submitted?
We'll submit the contract in about a 20 to 22 month time.
There's quite a lead time. So at a,
but just remind me, how long has the lead time been on the pumper that we've been waiting?
Over 3 years.
So we think the ladder will be shorter?
So actually, this company, they're set up to build a ladder truck quicker than a fire engine, a fire pump.
Really?
Yeah.
Go figure.
so yeah, it's 2 years is actually a kind of good lead time under current circumstances. So at a future meeting, I'd ask the chief, and maybe we can do a quick segment on some of the details of that, the truck that's being ordered, and then maybe kind of talk a little bit with the public about the trying to order fire apparatus in the modern era and the challenges that have come out of that really post-COVID that haven't gotten much better. And then lastly, I wanted to mention, I had it written down last week, but I think I skipped over it in the fray. Our Assistant Assessor, Kate Davies, completed her assessor's training, which is a huge accomplishment. There's a lot of coursework that goes into that, so I just wanted to tip the cap to her and thank her for putting the work in there. So it's just one more talented person we have on our team on the roster. So good work to Kate.
Good.
And that is everything.
Anything additional on the municipal campus? I know you.
So it's gonna, I think, come up a little bit later on in the agenda, but basically talking about the new building hours and the moving process. So if
when
you want to just flow right into that?
Where is that? I saw it up at the first part of the
Oh,
business.
no, it's right there.
Yeah.
It's bulleted. Yep, so we can go right into that.
Yeah, why don't we roll into that?
Sure. So, in a correspondence I had sent to the select board, I had mentioned that we had been working with town staff for several months now to talk about what would make sense as we're looking to move into the new building. We're trying to basically consolidate two different sets of hours between the folks that presently work at Memorial Hall and the folks that work up the street at 195 North Main. So over the course of that, we highlighted some challenges, obviously, in trying to reconcile those 2 points, but I think we found a good reconciliation, I guess, between the two different sets of operating hours. So what we landed on was Monday, 7:30 to 4, Tuesday, 7:30 to 5:30, Wednesday, 7:30 to 4, Thursday, 7:30 to 4, and Friday, 7:30 to 12. That would be a full 40 hours. We stressed that we wanted some consistency between the different offices in the building, with full understanding that some of the departments have specialized needs or have to shift hours in one way or another. So we're asking that, when able, if departments can try to shift their staff, if they have multiple staff, to cover either end of that. Particularly the late Tuesday nights are a little bit of a challenge for some of the folks up at 195 North Main, because they haven't worked a shifted schedule in the way that Memorial Hall has.
Can you remind me, between the two facilities, what are the hours presently?
So presently at Memorial Hall, we do open to the public 8 to 4, with Tuesdays being 8 to 6 and Fridays closing at 1. 195 North Main, and Jackie, if you can help me out with this one, they do until 3, but
7
5
to
days a
3.
week. Yeah, 7 to 3, 5 days a week. So some of the differences or challenges, I guess, in the departments that were highlighted as we went through this are, for example, inspectional services typically tries to work with contractors who get an earlier start in the day, so they typically want to open the offices earlier. The inspectors are in there earlier, and so they wanted some type of overlap. But then you have departments who typically shift later in the day. I think our office is a good example of that. And just trying to kind of reconcile between those 2 points. So the intent is to have those hours be effective once we move. We don't have an official date yet for the move, but we're closing in on that, and I'll talk about the move in a second. But we just wanted to bring this before the board to kind of talk about it, and also start to make the public aware that there's going to be eventually a change in hours, and to reiterate that we'll communicate that when the time comes.
This is for every person in the building? These will be the hours?
Those will be the hours that the offices are expected to be open.
Every office?
Every office. And then.
Except the COA.
Yeah, let me shift that. So on the town hall side of the building, Council on Aging is gonna hold their own hours because they have programming and different things like that that hasn't been set in stone yet, but once we know it, we'll articulate that. The moving element, we've started the process of discussing what that is going to look like. I think going into the summer, it seemed like a lifetime away, and now that there's a chill in the air, it kind of feels like it's upon us. So I did include in your packet some pages from the state contract and some of the research that we're doing. There's a little bit of a chicken and the egg type of scenario where we need to determine what our scope of work is going to be so that we can identify a contractor that customarily does the work, so that they can give us a fee and then further a process based on however their company likes to do things.
So when we talk about the move, so let's first talk about Memorial Hall. A lot of desks, filing cabinets and so forth are not going.
Correct.
But when you talk about North Main Street, specifically, I would say in the building commissioner's office, there's probably a lot of things that will be moved. So have you guys kind of looked at where's the cost effectiveness of moving things and where's the cost effectiveness of like acquiring instead?
Yep. So we have studied that extensively. So the new building does have a furniture package included in the budget.
Yeah, understood.
And so the way that we're breaking this down basically is into 3 categories. It would be folks' personal items that we'll provide boxes for, but the expectation is that they'll pack and move their own tchotchkes and whatnot, because we don't want to be responsible for moving or potentially breaking them. So that aside, secondarily, talking about either specialized items or pieces of furniture that people want to have moved to the new building. So town-owned items that we want to have moved. And I think an example I offered in the email was like voting machines and things like that for the move. Hi, by the way, good to see you. I'm sure. Yeah, always. So any type of like specialized equipment like that, we've kind of put the feelers out to department heads to start thinking about that, take inventory of that, and then we'll nail that down sometime over the next 4 to 6 weeks. And then the third category being files. And then with files in mind, splitting that into 2, one of them being files that we need moved up to the new building, and then the other category being files that we want to keep or have to keep, but we'll be going somewhere else, either up the road to 195 or stored elsewhere off-site. Between those high-level points, that covers pretty much everything in the building. Anything that stays behind, once the dust settles, we're going to go through inventory and try to surplus at various rates of speed depending on the building. So police station, for example, will be the first one that we're going to want to clear out just because we're looking to sell it. So once again, broad strokes, just as we start this process, we'll dig into it, we'll solicit feedback from the department heads, and then as a clearer picture begins to take shape, we'll bring that back before the board and kind of talk about the selection process for a moving company.
So you said, like, some files will not be coming to the new facility that will be staying, for example, at North Main?
Mm-hmm.
Is it because they've now been turned into digitized into electronic format, or that's where we're going to store?
So a vast majority will have been digitized, and we've actually timed the digitization of some of those so that they'll take them off-site when the time comes for us to move, and then deliver them back to us at the new building, so we'll save on moving costs there.
Exactly where I was going.
Yep.
Okay,
So
good.
we'll do our best to hit that when we're able to.
Okay.
And then others are just files that are, forever files that we don't need in our day-to-day, but we're obligated to keep, and there's no sense in packing the new building.
Yeah, okay.
Obviously, if we don't access them.
So, am I correct, this may be a smaller amount moved than we originally anticipated?
I have a feeling as we move through the process, it's going to get incrementally worse as we really start peeling back the layers on it. But I do want to say initially, after sitting down and really giving it some thought, my hope is that we can get something in place that's a relatively smooth process, and it shouldn't be that bad.
Okay.
So is your goal to have those items, furniture and that type of stuff purchased by the plan, the budget in place before things get moved in there?
Yeah, before, and only because we don't want contractors trying to stumble around things that we're moving in. So ideally, we won't be moving any of our existing items or files or anything in until that building is fully done, set up, everything's installed, and then turned over to us officially.
And the plan is, everybody moves at once. It's not like town administrator's office moves, and then this department moves. The plan is Memorial Hall closes on Friday and reopens on Monday at the new location.
More than likely, we may actually end up closing on a Thursday and sacrificing a Friday, because the real, the stumbling block is tech and the time that they're going to need to set that up, which Jackie's working with Danvers IT to coordinate that effort. But that is ideally the goal, is that people will walk out of those buildings and into the new building, and
Okay.
we'll be done.
Good.
Can I
Okay.
make one clarification?
Mm-hmm.
But to your point though, there will be segments where it's like Memorial Hall might be on a different day than the COA might be on a different day than police might be on a different.
Oh, yeah, I was
Okay,
talking
as
more
long as
about,
we're-
I was talking about Memorial Hall more
There's a lot
specifically.
of questions about that, and we also don't know what order that looks like
I just wanted to
either.
make sure, like,
in
if
case
somebody
we
was
have
going to
questions.
Memorial Hall on a
There'll be a-
Tuesday, it won't be,
a
oh,
cutoff day.
sorry, that's already moved to the new facility, but
Yeah.
the assessors are
And
still
we'll
there.
probably have a pretty aggressive advertising
Oh, yeah.
campaign when we know for sure, because a great example is abatements are due this year on February 2nd because of the way the end of January falls, so we don't want to move assessing in the middle of abatements being turned in type of thing.
Yep, got it. Okay. Okay, any questions on report? Okay. Justin, thank you. Anna, come on up. So next on our agenda is our regular rotation of department head update, and we have with us this evening Town Planner Anna Berry Carmer. So Anna, before you start, I just want to, for the board edifications, I want to call out and say thank you very much for all the work that you've been doing, not across your whole portfolio, you'll talk about that, but more specifically with the Affordable Housing Trust. You've been a real key integral part of that committee getting stood up, implementing the action plan there, but really helping us think beyond some of the grand ideas we've had, and it kept us grounded on that. So I just wanted to, for the board and the public, say a big thank you to you for that. Thank you.
So a little update on kind of generally what I've been up to. I'm going to give a kind of couple categories, but just kind of projects that we've been working on in the planning department. Probably not news to anyone, but we are undertaking a technical zoning bylaw review process that kicked off early in the year, and at this point we are moving pretty much on schedule. Currently, we're reviewing the preliminary audit from our consultant team, who is VHB. We have a solid set of recommendations from them. After the town reviews it, we will be having a public meeting. That's actually coming up on September 30th, in 2 weeks, I guess. And I have some info about that on the town planner webpage. But that's going to be an open forum for anyone who's interested to come and hear about kind of what's in the audit, what's being recommended. Everything that is being recommended, just like the scope of the project as a reminder, is limited to what I would call technical updates. So not talking about map changes, not talking about district changes. These are kind of things to make sure that there's clarity in each section. So if something is unclear or different, it's those kind of changes. So I would say it's pretty technical at this point. So that's moving as anticipated. After that public forum, we'll start to actually do the rewrite of the zoning bylaw. And at this point, we're still on schedule to have that rewrite completed probably at the end of January, early February, for the planning board to consider it in public hearings in the spring, and ultimately for town meeting to consider it next May. The other project that's ongoing is the North Main Corridor Study. So that's in the startup phase right now. We have put together a small group of residents and board members who will be participating in that study. Again, that's kind of a look at the North Main Corridor, options for economic development, aesthetic improvement, those kind of things. So the timeline of that will likely kick off this fall, and that will continue through the spring. And then finally, a little admin work. I am working on digitizing the files, so that's one thing that's on kind of my radar. I'm hoping to have that process completed by the time we move into the new building, so hopefully the timing will work out really well with that. Yeah, a little bit of ongoing planning zoning board, just updates for you all. We've heard three ADUs, and there's at least one more that I'm expecting, like in the near future. So those have been, I would say, steady, not overwhelming, but definitely steady.
So question on those, I don't know, I don't want to know where, but are they separate outbuildings or units within the building?
2 have been attached, 1 has been separate. Yep. And then we've heard 1 special permit for a 2-family, and also I have 1 more of those expected probably this fall. And ongoing, mostly, I would say the other applications we've had this year have been commercial uses primarily. So that's kind of where the permitting is, where it's at. And then zoning bylaw updates. I think you all may be already aware, but we had 2 zoning bylaw updates this year. Our ADU bylaw was approved with a few updates, and the floodplain overlay district was approved as we submitted it. So that's mostly what's been happening. I'm happy to talk a little more about the Affordable Housing Trust Senior Home Repair Program, but I know you've been giving the board updates. So.
Yeah, maybe a quick update on that. Sure. So again, I'll call out, thank you again for the work that you've done on the board on that. So as part of our planning initiative of both short, medium, and long-term goals for the Affordable Housing Trust, one item that came up is a home repair program that we have kicked off, and tonight ink is now on the document. We have contracted with Habitat for Humanity that has experience doing this in multiple other towns, including, I think, right next door in North Andover. We have set a budget Thank you again to town meeting and friends at the CPC for providing some dollars into the Affordable Housing Trust that will be eligible for individuals within certain income and asset levels to support them with needs to help them remain in their homes and be safe and sufficient in their homes. And this could be anything from ramps and handrails all the way to repairs of the home for life and safety, utility upgrades such as heat and plumbing. And so we are working a multi-pronged approach to educate the Middleton residents about this. Thank you to all the different departments, COA, Veteran Service Officer, schools, and others that are helping us. And we're hoping if we build it, they will come, so to speak. Still has to go through a process of permitting for work that is done in a home. That'll all be managed by the partner in this, Habitat for Humanities, that has continued to vet and utilize vendors that'll do the work. But in the communities that have had this, I think it's been very well received. And we will see what we get for volume on this. And the project is up to, I always forget the maximum amount, it could be
$30,000.
$30,000, the maximum amount of a project. There will be a process that, again, will be managed by Habitat of vetting and determining what the scope of a repair or upgrade project will look like. Did I miss anything?
That's everything. We'll definitely be, so the project isn't live yet, but we'll definitely be advertising when we're beginning to accept applications, which I expect will be by the end of this month.
Anything, yeah, anything?
Well,
Brandon?
I'll ask you this question tomorrow night, too, at the Realtor meeting. Have you heard anything from the state DOT in regards to Maple Street Bridge? And what, if anything?
Yeah, the last update we heard was over the summer, and they did confirm that they have, I believe, a 50% design plan for the project, which is a pretty good sign that they're moving forward on design, and I believe it's in line to be bid out in 2026 and work begins in 2027.
Okay, well, it's the first time they haven't told us we're moving it out another year, and they've been doing that since Justin was in elementary school, so.
You're not wrong.
Okay. Anything further for Anna?
I do not.
Okay, Anna, thank you very much.
Thank you
Thanks for
very
coming
much.
in.
Thank you.
Anna?
Good job.
Okay, next on the agenda, number 3, we have continued to this evening the liquor license violation public hearings for 232 South Main Street, Vinham, and 156 South Main Street, Richdale, both having to do with walk-in cooler, and one with work without a permit, and the other for a sign that is in non-compliance. I know you have a little bit of an update of where we are on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I sent, forwarded 2 emails actually today relative to this. So for 156 South Main Street, the Richdale walk-in cooler and work without permit, that is resolved per Commissioner Fitzpatrick, so we're all set with that. 232 South Main Street, Vinham, he is mostly satisfied. They did have a mechanical inspection this morning that passed. They had a building structural inspection that failed. They used wood in an area where they should have used metal. And so it's my understanding that Commissioner Fitzpatrick is satisfied with the remedy and confident that they're going to follow through on it tomorrow. So with that said, he's fine with this being closed out.
So he is comfortable at this point of closing this hearing and not continuing?
Correct.
Okay, if so, I would take a motion to close the hearing for both locations.
So move.
There's a motion, and there's a second. Any further discussion? The only point I'd make is thank you to the Commissioner for both bringing this to the board. We were glad to get involved in this, but also for him being vigilant and ensuring that this gets resolved in a somewhat timely manner. So a big thanks to him. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, if any? Okay, that is now closed. So speaking of liquor license, let's talk about a local policy choices bullet that was released by ABCC.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jackie, would you care to take that?
Thank you. So a bulletin was put out by the ABCC that we need some guidance on from the board in regards to if you'd like us to bring it to town meeting, where there's a new local option where you can turn your on-premise, which is drinking on the premise of the establishment, wine and malt beverage licenses, and create a provision that you can trade them in to the licensing authority, which is you, and get a all alcohol license instead. So basically would give the opportunity for us as a municipality to convert any of our wine and malt licenses to all alcohol. So
We have a small handful of those. They are items like, we have some pizza and sandwich shops.
yeah, mostly pizza and sandwich shops. Rizzo's comes to mind, Captain Pizza when it was in business, things like that. So it's beer and wine only.
Remind me again, the price, you may not have it exactly, but the price difference between a on-premise malt and wine and a on-premise all alcohol.
Somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000 difference. And so this would not require people to convert, but it would give you.
Well, it would give us the
option
authority.
for them to apply to you to
And we
convert.
still have remaining all alcohol on-premise license that are able to be utilized, correct?
So if you go to page 19 in your packet, you can see the breakdown. So for all alcohol, we have only 2 available in the quota. And then for wine malt and wine malt cordial, which are kind of cousins in the category, we have 5 allowed, and we have only 1 available in our quota at this time.
So,
That does not include any of our geographic specific ones that have not been issued to date. But it does include, those get counted in the issued count, but they don't get counted in the allowed count because they're special legislation licenses.
I mean, we have all alcohol on premises licenses available. Nobody's beating down the door to get those. I see no reason to pursue this at this time.
So this would have to go to a town meeting vote?
To allow this board to have the authority to
Do the conversion.
do the conversion that the law has allowed. So, I mean, I appreciate the legislature not just allowing the conversion to happen, but, yeah, I don't disagree with Costa. I mean, if we were sitting here of 0 all alcohol available, and we knew that we had 1 or 2 wine malt that were interested, I think we found, I mean, at one point, there was a pizza sandwich shop that had one several years ago and then relinquished it because it just wasn't both the requirements that they had to have in terms of staffing and insurance, it just wasn't worth it for them, so. And this isn't a, you must adopt this now or forever hold your peace. We could adopt this 5 years from now.
It's a new option, new tool in our kit if we wanted it. But
Yeah, so I kind of agree with Costa's point. I don't think there's a clamoring for this.
I do also.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
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 put it back on the shelf. Thank you.
Yep, thank you for bringing that to us. I appreciate it. Okay, town administrator, talk a little bit about surplus town property, where we are, current status. I know you talked a little bit in your business report, but
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just a few updates on a handful of the buildings. So for the police station, taking feedback from your last meeting, I brushed up a couple points on the RFP, so it's finalized and set to be posted. It'll go out to the Central Register Thursday of this week to be posted for Wednesday, October 1st. So we're gonna move forward on that timeline, let it go out for 6 weeks, and we'll see what comes back sometime in mid-November. For the fire station, we did finally receive a revised proposal from CBI Consulting that was included in your packet. They're actually under the umbrella of Socotec now. Sorry for the confusion there. They called out some of the items that we were looking at, as you may recall. I mean, this was middle of the summer or so. Their estimate was a little bit high and their scope was a little vague. And so I went back to them and asked them to either come down to a not to exceed of 25,000 or to elaborate on why it was 30, which they did do. They did call out specifically what their deliverables were going to be, and they also called out the consultant fees, which kind of beef up their costs overall. About 20,000 of that they were going to do by a third party. With that said, I was approached by Mr. Garber early in this week to go down to the fire station and walk through with Chief Locust. Thank you, Chief, for finding the room in your schedule on an otherwise busy day, to kind of talk about some of the elements that were driving this study. So namely, the fact that there's some crossed wires, so to speak, and connections from a mechanical perspective relative to the existing fire department and the library. And so we looked at some of the hookups that were there for the septic system, and we looked at the existing generator that is on the opposite side of the fire station right now that we intend to keep and move anyway, so it's a cost that would exist anyway.
Does that generator work for just the fire department or the library and fire department?
It's my understanding that right now it's only tied into the fire department, so we would.
Move it for library use?
Yep. Yep. And so with that said, looking at some of the motivating reasons for keeping the bays underneath, we kind of got into a little bit of a pro-con. By happenstance, Costa actually happened to be driving through on library business, so we pulled him in too. It wasn't a quorum, don't worry. It's just the two of us standing in the parking lot, or three of us. But talking about kind of the downsides of keeping the bays. I mean, the benefit is obviously you get more storage. The downside is people tend to use additional storage as a dumping ground. Concerns about that, and then obviously potentially having to heat the space, future maintenance. There's a lot of intangibles here, I guess, that I think the board could talk about.
And if I'm in
Please.
the electrical components for the library, for the septic that are in there are easily moved just by putting a little doghouse on the side.
On the side of the library.
Side of the library, and it's only a couple of electrical panels. There's no pumps or anything like that.
Oh, I thought it was like
No, it's just
pumps
electrical
and-
panels.
Yeah, it doesn't look
Two panels.
that bad, at least to us standing there in the parking lot. So I think what we came to for conclusion was we'll keep this in hand and put it on ice for a minute. Let me go out and price out what it would cost to pull out some of those mechanical elements and put it next to the library.
And do it in a way that matches that building.
Right.
Yep.
Brick, yeah.
Oh, yeah, nothing tacky, like sticking on the back, something that would blend. And we even talked about, because I know there's conversations about if we kept the garage, putting some type of patio on the upper deck, you could raise that building and put the patio at grade with the back parking lot and still have a nice amenity for the library there.
And it would create a larger outdoor area. It would be buffeted from the noise of 114
Could be low,
because
yeah.
it's lower. So I can see a lot of the space being a lot more usable if it's down below, and if these elements can be moved at substantially less than the $30,000 of the study,
Right.
there's no need for the study.
And the demolition cost itself would be less because you're not trying to save a structure and tear it. It'd be much easier.
And I'd say the only really question mark remaining there is if the existing wall can remain the back
For
wall of the
retaining.
bay as a retaining wall, in which case you could just clad that with some type of veneer, or something to, down the road to dress it up and make it look nicer, but.
Or just grade. The grade, I don't think the grade is as much as it looks like with the building there, because you look, when you're standing in the back to the right of it, in between the library and the.
It goes like this.
Yeah, it looked like you could do something, maybe do a lower wall and grade it down.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe
ultimately,
even step walls.
step walls or something like that. It is a story, ultimately. And so I do agree, I think closer to the library, you could work that out. I think it's when you get
Yeah.
further to the turn
The
that you.
drainage too of 114.
Yeah, also runoff or anything like that. So all elements we can look into, but the takeaway here is let me hold off on this. We'll roll up our sleeves and kind of explore some other options, because I don't want to burn money if we don't have to, just like you don't, so.
Yep.
Thanks.
Okay. So So that's police and fire.
Thank you for the prompt. For Memorial Hall, we had a conversation with CG Johnson Engineering. They're putting together a cost estimate. They had a rough scope that I presented at your last meeting, but I haven't received the cost estimate yet, and we expect that sometime in October. So we'll go from there. And then Locust Street is in a little bit of a holding pattern. Old Town Hall, we need to have some further conversations about the feasibility of keeping that building and what the potential maintenance cost would be. but-
Retaining wall, septic,
Yep.
because it's accessible,
Yep.
roof, mechanicals, et cetera.
So there's a lot there, but we've had a little bit of a bandwidth issue.
So, backing up a little bit, Memorial Hall and Locust Street. So the Affordable Housing Trust, at its previous meeting, had Harborlight Homes come in to do a presentation. For those that aren't familiar with Harborlight, they're a not-for-profit based out of Beverly, I believe.
Yes.
They're a compilation of several not-for-profits that have kind of merged into a larger one that Middleton is the far western part of their catchment district. And the message was very clear to us from Harborlight that they really want to do something in this town. They have a lot of experience in other towns in this area. I'll give like Wenham, for example. I know you have some experience with them, Jackie, and the work that they've done in Wenham. They have done small projects and extremely large projects and everything in between. And they're in the process now of turning an old school into low-income housing. They have worked in communities to build new housing, that intergenerational, one that actually has a childcare facility in it. So all kinds of large and small projects, including utilization of old municipal buildings and school buildings.
And what I think is interesting with them is they also, the properties they develop as rental housing, they keep and they rent themselves, and they also
And they
provide
manage.
the tenants with additional services because of the population they
Like
may need.
transportation.
Yeah.
One of their facilities, they realized that it was a distance from public transportation, and so they provide, I think, a regular bus van service to bring residents to grocery stores, events, appointments, and others. Secondarily, when they do a project like that, they always try to build a preference in for residents of the community that are looking to remain in the community, and work with the host community if it's a project with the host community, or work with the host community if it's a project in the host community. So during our discussion, we had talked a little bit about some of the thoughts that this board and previous studies have done for Memorial Hall, as well as some of the discussions we've had around Locust Street. There was some conversation that there might be in the future an RFI that is potentially issued for one or both of those locations. They, I think, offered the willingness to provide some input on if we are doing an RFI, what things we should be thinking about, what things we should not be thinking about, because it will either help to bring in responses or actually hinder responses. And I know, Jackie, I know you've been talking to Harborlights as well, but I think it was really, at least on the Affordable Housing Trust piece, it was extremely eye-opening to us. And I really, really like their model, to Costa's point. They build, they open, they operate, it's their facility, they manage everything from, it's their staff that's on site that's managing the program, it's their staff that's managing any other services that are needed.
Do they build from scratch or only renovate existing?
Both.
That's a great opportunity to involve them, absolutely.
And we talked a little bit about some of the things that this board and previous discussions that happened on Memorial Hall about, you know, keeping facades, not keeping facades, moving buildings, not moving buildings. Had some really, I think, helpful input. that I think should be put into the process as we think about if we do issue an RFI for either one or both of these properties, to solicit input. I also think became very well suited for some of the discussions we had around Locust Street of existing zoning, ways that we could build to make that more attractive instead of 4,200 square foot homes, but within the zoning, how a builder would build that in a way that would be more representative of what the town's envisioning for affordable.
Nice.
That's great, yes.
So, when you get to the point of thinking about potential RFI or interaction like that, I'd highly recommend a conversation with Harborlight. And they seem very, very interested in doing something in Middleton because, again, we've been kind of the far reach of their, and they're not a organization that only focuses in big urban areas where you would think, because of infrastructure, because of public transportation, that, oh, that's where they focus. No, they really want to be in Middleton.
All right. We'll have the I think we actually sat with a representative maybe 6 months ago. So I'll reach out to them and
Yeah,
see how it.
I mean, we even asked the question of like, if you did something jointly, you know, I had asked the question about what's your experience of doing things with the town, like in town property or partnerships, or do you prefer to do it on your own? Like, here's the property, you buy it and do it. I think they were open to both.
They are.
And in the discussion that we had around, obviously, municipal preference of residents of the community, but also preference for employees in the community. Very open to that.
All right.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, any questions or comments on surplus town property from the board?
I do not.
Okay. I assume the next piece is going to be Jackie, because you've been working on our Citizens Academy, and you have an update for us on the schedule overview.
I do. So I will say before I get into the schedule, I am both happy and sad to report that for those interested, we no longer have any space available. We are fully registered.
Great.
There is a wait list still, and we may end up taking folks off of that wait list, but really happy to say that we are fully booked for all participants, which is great.
And how many?
20. That seems about the right size for the group. And we'll be kicking off next week. Justin and myself are both on deck for getting to know town government. And we've some materials about Middleton overall, and then the select board, town meeting, form of government, professional municipal management, and then the end of the night will be Tracy Mello, our health director, talking about our wonderful health department. We'll get into planning and assessing and the Council on Aging the following week with department heads from all of those departments. Day 3, I don't know if the chief is still here, he is. We'll start with conservation at the Flint Public Library, and then we're very excited to walk over to the fire department and explore the fire department's operations with Chief Locust and his team. That's always a great hit when we do programs like this. They have some of the cooler parts of the work that we do for people. Some people have never gotten to be up close to a fire truck, and some people, if they have, it's never on a good day. So it's a really fun to be at the fire department. The next week is the week of Scots somehow, with both Building Commissioner Scott Fitzpatrick and Superintendent of the Tri-Town School Union Scott Morrison, and we'll be here at the Fuller Meadow for inspectional services and elementary education. We'll move into treasury collecting, and I have heard, rumor is that there will be treasurer collector Jeopardy that night for the participants. And then our interim VSO, Kevin Welch, has graciously agreed to cover veteran services and all the important work that that department does for the residents of Middleton. And then JJ Domino and I, JJ who's helping out both in the town clerk's office and in our office, and I are going to be doing all board and committee roundup and all the different various boards and committees that won't be covered elsewhere in the schedule. And I do want to stop and thank JJ. He's been helping me with an incredible amount of the coordination, and he's going to be me when I can't be for this program, and has been coordinating with the department heads, helping them get going on their presentation. So a lot of credit to JJ on that. Rolling into week 6. We're going to work on the budget and financials with our finance director, Sarah Wood. I'm really looking forward to that presentation. She does a great job every year. We do municipal budgeting 101 with our department heads, and I'm excited to see the resident-facing version of that. And then to be determined members of our Flint Public Library team, we are starting to work on some items, but we'll do the Flint Public Library that evening as well. And I think that's going to be really an engaging presentation in the Flint Public Library space. The week after, we will feature the Department of Public Works and Paul Goodwin, and the Police Department with Captain Armitage. And then the finale, last but certainly not least, we will have town meeting and the town clerk with moderator Pacelli and clerk Twiss. And we'll finish with a mock town meeting, because they will have gone through all of these aspects of town government. And JJ's already working on our whimsical town meeting warrant. So that's always one of the best nights of the academy, as we help people learn how to engage at town meeting, how to ask questions, how to move the question. And we always have some really fun and zany articles for them to use as practice. And we'll get to learn more about the town clerk's operation and town meeting itself. And then we'll be back here for some public participation at your December 2nd select board meeting with a graduation as well.
Nice, this is exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice job, Jackie and team, putting this together.
Yeah, and I want to thank the department heads, taking an extra evening out of their lives to come in and do this, but we've been full for a couple weeks now on registration, so I think people are really excited. I think people are eager to learn. Even one of the librarians commented of, I wish I knew more about how our trash operation works, and I said, well, if you'd like to come and hear Paul talk about the transfer station, you are certainly welcome, because there's a lot of things that I think we take for granted. You know, I had someone ask about a cemetery would be covered, and I said, you know, that's part of Public Works, and the person had no idea that our Public Works department digs the graves at the cemetery at Oakdale. So I think it's going to be really exciting for people. Great way to get to know the town.
If somebody wanted to sit in on, let's say somebody that's not signed up had an interest in just one of those things, would they be able to sit, they wouldn't graduate, but to sit in and listen, or is there's only enough space for the?
So, the goal is that you do all 8 so that you get all of the different things, because there is some curriculum throughout so that you can be successful at the mock town meeting. The only group I would say that I will be sending an open invitation to is our finance committee, because it's a great way for them to learn more about the departments. We have a lot of people on the finance committee, and a few of them have only been through a couple cycles. But I think in my experience, when I've done it with people being able to drop in and drop out, you lose the group. And if you miss a session, sometimes there are sessions that don't look so cool on paper, but they are interesting, because the department heads do a good job to make them engaging. So I find that having the whole series is really important in that way.
Okay.
Is this going to be recorded?
No.
Okay.
I gotta keep them wanting more so that
I
the
hear
next
ya.
group
Okay.
signs up.
And is your hope to do this annually?
I think annually, but maybe every other for a little while. I think it's a big ask. This year, you know, we don't have a special town meeting, which helps. But it is a big time commitment. So I'd like to do it next year, because we'll be in our new buildings, and I think it would be a great way for people to get a sense of the new facilities. But then maybe take a year break and then get into like an every other cycle. I think it will definitely be fall, though. I think it'd be really hard to do during the town meeting and budget process. I think that would be a big strain. So,
Okay, awesome. This is really exciting.
yeah, it's gonna be
Thank you,
fun.
Jackie and team, for putting this together.
Yeah, and thanks to JJ. He's been boots on the ground for me on this, which I appreciate.
Okay. Wellpath bankruptcy update.
No public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It is 6 PM, so we have our public comment session for any topics that may not be on the agenda that members of the public, and we have Susan Piccoli here this evening.
Hi, my name is Susan Piccoli. I live on 16 Lakeview Avenue. I just wanted to let everyone know that we are having a town-wide litter pickup on the 20th of September, which is this Saturday, from 11 to 2. And I want to thank the DPW, the administrative offices, the Conservation Commission, the stream team. I've been in contact with the Boy Scouts, the sports teams, et cetera, and there's been a lot of interest in people helping out. It's going to be, this is the first time that I've really ever worked on organizing something, so I've been driving around town, and I think the trash queens have been doing such a good job. There's not as much trash, but I've gotten some locations, so I would like the police department to be aware that we will be on some of the major streets in the town, working on picking up the trash. The DPW has graciously agreed to park one of their dumpsters, one of their dump trucks at Town Hall so that we can collect all the bags that we've collected so that they will not be on the street. But we're wanting everybody that's possibly interested in keeping Middleton beautiful to participate, and we're looking forward. The stream team is also helping us. People have supplied orange vests. The trash queens are supplying some grabbers. There'll be a little bit of water, you know, just to get everybody hopefully working on something that's positive for the town.
And,
Thank you.
and the forecast for Saturday is ideal for this project.
Susan, can
Could I-
you state the time again, please?
From 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You don't have to be here the entire time, but if you check in at 11 o'clock or around, there will be somebody at Town Hall we're going to put up a little canopy, and some people have asked for locations already. So, for example, I think the Daisies contacted me, and I was going to have them do the little road up to the Fuller Pond, up to this school and around the playground. The third grade Cub Scouts or Boy Scouts have been in contact, and I'm giving them how manning the fields and around there, trying to keep people that are having kids off the busy streets, but older adults and older kids might be on this, on the streets like 114 or 62. So that's just where I'm coming from.
Great.
So I know there's going to be
Thank
a
you.
dump truck at Memorial Hall, but
And could you see Paul Pellicelli on your way out? Because he was asking if he could, volunteer himself with his truck
Well-
and maybe help pick up along the way. He's back there. He asked me the question, and you could probably, on your way out,
Okay.
you could answer it better than I. That's all I was going to say.
One thing that I've noticed is on Liberty Street, there's 3 flat-screen TVs that are on the side of the road. And so maybe that's something somebody could pick up for us, because we have to, we can't leave them there, because eventually they're going to get broken, and we're going to have a bigger problem. So
yeah.
that was one thing that I was thinking of. If somebody had a truck, they could pick them up, and we could put them in the back. And unfortunately, somebody didn't want to pay the disposal fee, so we have them on the side of the street.
And I don't expect DPW to be out on a Saturday on this, but is there a possibility so you all have put together where you're targeting for pickup, and I assume 114 will be part of it. Is there a possibility we could get either the police board, the DPW could pre-position somewhere, just
I think we had asked for the flashing
Yeah.
board, and unfortunately, it's being used at the dump for the dump sticker notice, so that's already being used, so,
I thought we had 2 of them.
We borrow from Meld in emergencies.
yeah.
Borrow melds.
I'll ask. Okay.
I'm seeing them tomorrow.
Oh, perfect.
Susan, thank you for coordinating all of this.
This is also the other trash queens are very much actively involved, and
So we,
Good therapy for us because we get to walk every day outside, so it works. But hopefully if people see what kind of trash is left on the side of the street, they might be more verbal when they see other people doing it.
I would love when this dump truck is filled with big yellow bags, I'd like to see us promote the volume of this. I mean, I know so many people know what you and the other trash queens have been doing around town, and I love watching on social media when you all are posting what you found and so forth. But here's I appreciate everybody leaning in and doing the work on this, but this is a really good opportunity to turn this into an education component as well of what.
I mean, and I can honestly say I've been driving around town, and I've been measuring distances between streets and things like that with my odometer. And unfortunately, or fortunately, one way you look at it, it's not the same amount of trash that we're used to seeing. It's a lot less. And so we stopped picking trash, the Queens, kind of last week, hoping that there'd at least some, because if people say, well, there's not much trash, what are you talking about?
Just wait a second.
And, I mean, because I can tell you, the day that we did 114, probably a few months ago, we got 54 yellow bags of trash from the North Andover line, whatever that is there, down to the center here. So we got 54 yellow bags.
Wow.
And plus a box spring. So, and then the last time we did it, we got 3 5-gallon containers of oil that they had to call Mass, because it was on 114. They had to call the
DOT.
state, to get rid of it. But these are the kind of things that people are throwing out, or
Yeah, I believe it.
so. But anybody that's willing to help, we're looking for as many volunteers as we can get. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Appreciate it.
Very much.
Any other public comment? Okay, next on the agenda is the Wellpath bankruptcy update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just wanted to close the loop on this item. As you may recall, sometime early in the summer, Chief Locust and Finance Director Wood were coordinating with my office relative to the Wellpath bankruptcy in relation to the jail up on the hill there. So Chief was successful in recouping a large portion of those funds. And once again, I want to commend Doug on his efforts on bringing attention to this. And the takeaway from the select board meeting at that point in time in July was to try to pursue the remainder. I was skeptical, but I'm happy to report we were able to secure those funds from the sheriff's office. I also want to thank the sheriff for being a good partner relative to this topic. It was about $20,000 that we were in the hole for, and I'm happy to report per Treasurer Federico, they wired the full $19,505 over to us on August 19th, closing out that item.
Nice.
That's great news.
Good. Thank you, Chief and Finance team and Justin for staying on this. I know when you look at a bankruptcy, it's easy to say, well, it is what it is and move on.
Yeah, it's easy to overlook them.
So, thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda is the review of the 35 Village Road 40B comment letter. For those at home and in the room, 35 Village Road, where the old, I guess we used to call it the Verizon 9X building, back in the day, has been proposed by the owner of the property as a 40B development. 2 weeks ago, we held a community forum where the developer and their team, a proposed developer and their team, provided some overview and answered some questions. They have since filed or had already filed their documentation with the state, and here we are at the first big step in the process, which is the comment letter.
Thank you. So when a project is proposed for a 40B project, the community gets a 30-day window to submit a comment letter, basically, as the chair touched upon, soliciting input from the community and from department heads, compiling all of that into one source, and then delivering it to Mass Housing. So I did request an extension just for the purpose of getting to tonight so the board could get eyes on it before we submit it for tomorrow. So they graciously did accept my request for an extension. The letter, and I would like to credit Anna, who's no longer in the room, but she did an excellent job compiling a bulk of this. Also, thank you to the department heads that really gave some thought to their various departments and submitting their comments. We broke it down into several categories in many ways, following the formula that we luckily had in hand from the Bridge project a couple years ago when they were at a similar point in their proposed project. So we covered traffic and parking, water supply, wastewater and stormwater drainage, fire safety and access, fire prevention and code enforcement, impact on emergency response and call volume, neighborhood impacts, and stability. And basically rounding out this letter, stressing that more or less in summary, the town is supportive of affordable housing initiatives. However, we have some concerns about the project as it has been described. And so I think the important takeaway there, though, is with some tweaks based on the input from residents and from department heads, some version of this project could be viable. But as proposed, it presently is not. And so that is kind of the long and short of what we're providing to the state. The state will have some time to review our comments. I'm sure they'll be in touch with us at some point for some clarification on some of the points. It has been reviewed by legal counsel, so thank you to Jay Tallerman and his team for reviewing it. And from there, we just have to kind of wait and see what the team comes back with, ultimately, the proposed development team. Ultimately, more than likely, they'll file a project based on these comments. I wouldn't be surprised, as I alluded to in the public input session, that what they bring forward is probably going to look a little different than what was at the public input session. And I would just reiterate to the public that as it moves through the process, it's probably going to continue to shift and evolve based on feedback from residents, feedback from town staff, and also feedback from boards and committees, particularly as it makes its way through the ZBA by design. So we encourage residents to reach out to us if they have any questions or concerns about it. I've had a few reach out to me, abutters, and I happily made the connection with the engineers for that project. So if anybody is looking for us to help elevate their voice and make that connection, please reach out to the office. We're more than happy to help. I have nothing else to add at this time.
Okay. Do you need us to actually take a vote on the letter?
If you could vote to accept the letter and then sign a copy, that'd be appreciated.
Okay, any further comments on the letter or the topic? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the comment letter to Mass Housing as in the package. Okay, there's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, there's a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, if any? And that passes unanimously. Document coming down for signature. Justin and team, thank you for a really well thought out letter. Okay, next on the agenda is Police Chief Sampson regarding appointment at the police department. As this board knows, we recently had a vacancy in the role of sergeant, and Sergeant Arathusic retired. Later on, this board appointed a new sergeant to fill that vacancy, and that was filled by then Detective Adam Massini, which caused the vacancy in the detective position. So we have Chief Sampson here with us this evening, as well as Officer Costa Aganis and his family and friends. So come on up, Officer and Chief.
Well, good evening. Again, we're here because we signed Mr. Aganis to the detective unit because of the opening of Detective Messini being promoted to sergeant. He's been with the department since 2023. He's been an outstanding employee. He's been very loyal to the town. He's been very loyal to the department. He's earned the respect of his peers. He's earned our respect in the command staff, and we were, we opened it up to anybody that wanted to put in for it. We had a selection panel. We asked them a series of questions to kind of gauge their interest, their knowledge of the law, and unanimously, Mr. Aganis was chosen. And we're very excited to have him start this part of his career.
Right? Congratulations, Scott.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Very excited. Very, very excited.
Anything on your,
Just, this, Middleton is my home away from home. And, I love the community here. I love my position in the department. And I'm very excited for this opportunity to engage in my next, level of law enforcement. And I'll be very excited to work under the direction of Detective Sergeant Messini, and obviously continue under the chief, and with the directive motives to keep the community safe and progress as the years go by.
So I will say, when the position was originally created, and the chief pushed for this position to be created, and now Sergeant Messini. Sorry, Sergeant, I wasn't at your appointment meeting, so again, congratulations to you. He really did, I think, a fabulous job in both the creation of that position, working with the chief, and then Sergeant Detective Arathusic. But so you've got some pretty good-sized shoes to step into. But I also want to add, Costa, I hear from so many people around town with extremely positive comments about you specifically, how they've interacted with you, from very difficult circumstances and situations and the calming demeanor that you've brought to that, to other circumstances that may not be distressing, but how helpful you've been to them. So I agree with the chief on this, and what I think is probably also Sergeant Detective Messini. You're the right man for the job.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. It means a lot.
Of course, it's Acosta.
Didn't we say that years ago when he was originally appointed to the position? But
We've heard it somewhere.
and I see you have a fan club with you this evening.
Yeah, my wife
Anybody you
and
want to
children
interrupt?
and, members of the department, and Detective Sergeant Messini. Thank you so much for being here.
well,
Thank you very much.
Costa, having worked with you, I know how thoughtful and, how compassionate you are with people, and you deal with everyone with empathy, respect. No doubt in my mind that that's gonna, help you and take you a long way with working with Detective Sergeant Messini.
Thank you so much.
Department's heading in a great direction, has been now for a while, so this is just another one of those great moves, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So now you'll be wearing a suit and tie all the time, huh?
Sir.
I see Adam's
That's
back
one of
in
them
his
right there, he's
uniform.
got on.
Little floral tie.
Okay, any other further comments or
I
questions?
do not, other than congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yep,
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank
So
you,
is this
Chief. Thank you, sir.
board to take a vote? Okay, so I would entertain a motion.
So move.
A motion to appoint Costa
Yep.
Aganis as detective. And there is a motion, is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, if any? I don't hear a single one. That sounds unanimous. Congratulations.
Congratulations, boss. You got it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Watch your step, Costa. Watch it with the cord.
And I think are you going to swear him in?
We don't usually swear
Oh.
detectives in.
I didn't know.
That's a police thing or assignment. Not appointment.
Assignment.
Okay. We are going to be entering executive session for 3 items under General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, all of them related to strategy respective to collective bargaining negotiations, or strategy as respect to litigation. We will be returning to open session, and at that time, we will be entering into, to finish the agenda and then enter into a joint meeting with the Library Board of Trustees. So I would accept a motion to enter executive session under General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3.
So moved.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Okay, and I'd ask the clerk to take the roll.
Rick,
Yes.
Costa,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes?
and I am a yes.
Okay, so why don't we, are we up? I'm going to call back to order the Middleton Select Board meeting of September 16th. It is 7:10 PM. We have just exited executive session. And next on our agenda is the ratification of the library union contract. This is a new union in town, and thank you to the negotiating team of town administrator, assistant town administrator, HR director, and our finance director for the process. I know it was a smooth and non-acrimonious process that has gotten us to I think, a well designed contract. So we have before us a contract that runs through June 30th, 2026. And I know in our discussions, the negotiating team that I had mentioned of the administrator, assistant town administrator, and finance director will be re-engaging for the next iteration of this contract that would begin on July 1st, 2026. So I would entertain a motion for the ratification of the union contract of through June 30th, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, if any? Hearing none. That passes unanimously. Thank you to them. Please pass along our thanks to the members of the union for reaching this agreement with us.
Absolutely.
Okay, I am going to turn this over to the library trustees that need to open up their portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Creston, Mr. Chair. So we'll call our section of the meeting to order at 7:10, still. And thank you for having us.
Okay. So this joint meeting is at a request to discuss the library director hiring process for those at home. Where we have a vacancy in our library director. Thank you to our acting library director, interim, for filling the shoes over there at the department during this process. Last evening, a screening committee that was appointed jointly by our two boards held their first meeting to begin the process of culling down the list of candidates. I know over the next several weeks, there will be an interview process that'll be occurring with the, I believe, candidates, plus or minus.
There'll be 5 semifinalists.
5 semifinalists that have made it to this point in the process. In previous discussions and in previous appointment process, at least since I've been on the board, this will be the 3rd library director since I've been a member of this board. I think Costa, you might have been there for 4 of them in the process. But I know the trustees, some members of the trustees had some questions on this. So is there anything else I'm missing from the process?
The only other piece of the process that I would like to reiterate, as I've updated both of the boards individually, is that we're doing those semifinalist interviews at the end of September 29th and October 1st, with the intention of doing finalist interviews in early October, because it would be my goal to make a verbal offer no later than the Columbus Day, Indigenous Peoples Day long weekend, so that we can ideally have someone have a negotiated agreement, give their notice, and be joining us at the Flint sometime between Veterans Day and Thanksgiving at the library.
And as part of that expectation, when a final vote is made on appointment, it's going to be made with one final candidate, or will there be expectation of
At least two.
So the screening committee needs to provide at least 2 to 3 finalists to public meeting. That's part of their charge under the open meeting law to be a screening committee, is that they take the original pool of applicants, whittle that down, and interview the semifinalists, and then deliberate on those people and make a recommendation, usually of 2 to 3 finalists. I think more than 3 is difficult, because up until the folks are public finalists being interviewed in public session, they are confidential, and it's a lot for someone that's not yet a finalist to put out there to their current employer that they are seeking other opportunities. And as I had communicated to the screening committee, I appreciate everybody's confidentiality in that process, up until the appropriate time.
Yep, got it. Okay. Anything else to add? PR committee. So I know there's been some questions.
There have been, and I think we're not necessarily all of the same mindset, so.
Okay.
Maybe I'll let the other folks share some of their thoughts and ideas and questions for you, if that's okay with you all?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have to identify myself?
Oh, we know who you are,
We
Susan.
got you, Susan.
Okay. I looked at the governance and policymaking responsibilities of the trustees from Massachusetts.
Board of Library Commissioners.
Board, yeah. And it says that the trustee board hires and evaluates the director unless dictated by state or local laws. And I wanted to know, and I was told that in the last 2 directors appointed, it was a joint decision.
I actually think it might have been the last 3. I've only been here for the last 2. I think Adele was also done jointly.
And I want to know why that was changed.
Back when, because I can't speak before, I think before Adele was probably Shirley?
No,
No,
Michelle Malls.
Oh, okay.
Mrs. Turner before that.
That's way before my time.
No, your children would have been small. My son was small at that time. He was probably about 5, so 25 years ago, Brian, we were.
So
around.
I can't speak, at least in my tenure on the board, and I think Costa's probably the member that's been here longer. This has been the process. That's what we talked about jointly when we created this process leading into this vacancy, created the process leading into the last vacancy, created the process leading into the vacancy before. My opinion is this, and this is my opinion, and I'm not speaking for the rest of the board. They'll have the opportunity to speak on this. So right before we moved to this joint meeting, we had the ratification of a union contract for the employees over there. It's a function of this board. The budget that gets presented is a budget that the library director actually presents to this board. This board deliberates and makes a decision on that with the guidance and interaction of that library director, but we provide that guidance.
We also are involved in.
No, I know you are, just as,
The school.
just as Board of Health members provide guidance to the health director on her budget, just as any other board or committee does. Lastly, my final point on this is going into this position. If I was sitting in that seat right there and being interviewed for this committee, I would understand the role that I play as the library director working with the library trustees, but I would also understand the role that I would be playing as the library director with this board as the chief executive body of the town that is setting the budget that is brought to town meeting. And knowing that that board had a say in my appointment means that that relationship is being cemented with that board. A perfect example is I'm thinking of department heads or sub-department heads that we may not, as a board, directly appoint, but we manage their budget.
The light department?
Light department's different. We unfortunately don't manage their budget.
They
Under,
pick their director, right?
well, but they are a different animal in terms of budget. The only thing under state law that a municipal electric light department is required to do is notify town meeting of their budget. Town meeting doesn't have any authority over their budget.
But I'm just saying, to the point of why we're here, is about picking the director. Same thing with the light department. I understand what you're saying by budgeting,
So-
but we are involved.
Let's go, let's take one that might be more, I don't know how they've done it in the past. How does the assessor get it? Does the Board of Assessors appoint the assessor, or does the Select Board? Who appointed Brad?
The
Do you know,
board
Brad?
does.
Board of
I
Assessors
can
or
answer
Select Board?
that. The board does.
What board?
Board of Assessors.
So Board of Assessors, so I think that would be the closest comparison, that the Board of Assessors appoints the assessor. I think that would
But
be.
that is due to the statute, and that is the way it has always been done in town.
We're
So
just saying the
with-
statute
so-
is the same for the library, right? Isn't that
Well,
what I heard?
not a
there-
statute.
Oh.
So under the assessing, chapter 59, it is done for assessing. I don't really know what Susan has over there, and I haven't looked into it, so
Yeah.
forgive me. But at the end of the day, and I'm not saying because of things have been the way they've always been and should stay that way, but what I'm saying is, if we're just ratifying a brand-new entity over at the library,
What new entity?
well, meaning with the union, now that you're unionized, this is all new.
But the
I-
assistant
That's staff,
director are
not
under
administration.
the union. That's separate.
I totally get
But
that,
they're managing the
But-
employees that are covered by that.
correct.
The
So,
assistant and director.
So
union.
that should be in the director's job description to handle that, right?
what I'm trying to say is, in my opinion, the boards should, select board and the library trustees should stay together for now. Whether that, whatever Susan has there, states that you should have full control or not.
That's the state.
In
the state,
my
yeah.
opinion, we should have a say-so until things are stable. And I'll leave it at the word stable.
I just feel that the select board has a responsibility to the town. The trustees' responsibility is to the library. And that's where I'm coming from.
So I view,
also-
I view this responsibility of this board, it's not just to the towns and the townspeople. I mean, we had both police and fire chief here. I have a responsibility to the men and women of those departments. I have a responsibility to the department and the services that are provided over there, as well as a responsibility to the town. I view the same way as the library. I don't take the library budget process that we go through any different than I do his budget, and I appoint him and we manage him on a daily basis. I don't view that any differently than that process. So the library trustee process in Massachusetts that has evolved over time may have a handbook that states this is the roles and responsibility of the library trustees. I'm not taking any of that away. I view this appointment and the rationale for it being jointly is, this is a department head, senior position in this town. And other than a regional school district or MELD, where we legally have no authority over MELD. MELD may be a political subdivision of the town of Middleton, but under the way the law is designed on municipal utility companies, we have no control over their budget. Wish we did, but we don't.
So, Brian, but we also to go back to kind of how things come together, we met the screening committee. I know you were tied up, so you weren't there, but Mark and I were there, and others that were part of the screening committee. You have 2 members from the select board that are on that screening committee. So already you're part of that process of, bringing it down from the number that we had to the 5, as Jackie said, for the interviews. So it's not as though you're excluded from the process by any means. There's 2 members from this board.
So
And all the way
I would tell you the reason for the screening committee is different. Like
Interviewing and
No, but we have a police chief and fire chief that we didn't do a screening committee with. One of them we used a consultant. The second, this board did it on its own. I think the screening committee is, I would say, the library more than, other than the schools, and I would put them on a similar footing as the schools. The library is a department that transcends all across the town, and there's more public involvement, as we have all seen of late and of lore, of interest in the library, intergenerational, from the oldest person in town to the youngest person in town. So the screening committee was to ensure that there were representation on that process. We could have said the screening committee is going to be the appointing authority, which we had decided would be the select board, and so that screening committee could have been a full member of your board and the full membership of this board. The reason for bringing in a screening committee is to ensure that, because this is a department and a position that is probably more engaged with the public than any other department. A police chief, you are involved in the department when something's going bad. Fire and paramedics, you're involved probably when something's going bad. Public health, not everybody is engaged with our health department. Got to do a septic system. Our planning department, you're doing a development. This is probably next to the schools, and I would say parallel to the schools. And that's why when a school superintendent is hired, there's screening committees and involvement in that process. And I took that advice very clearly from our current HR director and our former HR director the last time we had a vacancy in this position.
Hi, I'm Allison. Hi, guys. I have some library experience, and in my experience, I've been on hiring committees for 2 library directors and an assistant director. And in each case, it was the library board who was the screening committee. They acted as the screening committee, and they completely went through the process with the town HR to do the advertising. Last time we hired a director here in Middleton, the library board spent many hours, and I don't know if you remember this, but developing the job description. And I felt a little concerned that we were not involved, that the job was posted before the library board even had a chance to review the job description, to see how in the last 5 years since we hired a director, this town, what the needs of the town have grown to, because certainly things have changed, just technology-wise.
Is there anything in the job description you disagree with?
At this time, I haven't reviewed it closely again because it was.
So you've been through the review process and started culling candidates, but haven't looked at the job description.
I'm not on the screening committee.
But as a member of the library trustees, you haven't reviewed the job description.
I haven't been offered an
So
opportunity.
my comment on the job description is this: we have been through this board, along with input from every employee that is non-union in this town. We have gone through and thoroughly reviewed, updated, and aligned every job description of every employee in this town that is non-union. And we did that both internally with our current HR director and our previous HR director, as well as University of Massachusetts Collins Center.
And that's exactly my
And reviewed all of our job descriptions. We also didn't just review what was on paper, we reviewed through interviews of positions what those individuals are doing to make sure they're, and our job descriptions changed across the board of our non-union employees. So my concern, and I've said, I've read the job description and reviewed it, There's nothing in there that gives me pause to think that job description was put together without a focus on what the roles are and what the roles need to be. Part of what we did through the Collins Center and getting our non-union employees onto a structure, that also included at the time when we first did this, was actually updating the library director's salary and capabilities to what was actually happening.
And that was all 5 years ago. I have nothing but applause and compliments for Jackie and the very hard work she's done on all of this. And the library board, some of us were on the board at the time, spent many, many hours going through that. So if you found it now, if you've recently reviewed it, which I have not, and you're still finding it relevant, I'm glad to hear that. I'm super glad to hear that. But that doesn't mean that it didn't bear the library trustees who are responsible for this person. I mean, that the director reports into this board to have an opportunity to have reviewed it. Now, that being said, I'm not going to argue because it's water under the bridge. We've already advertised it. We already have candidates, and we're reviewing them. But the other point I wanted to make is, aside from what Maria and Susan have very rightfully commented, in the charter of this town, because I brought this up 5 years ago as a new trustee, exactly the same thing, that my experience in hiring directors and an assistant director was not at all the process that this town goes through. But the charter says that the library is an autonomous board and that we make our decisions for the library and we are the one the director reports into. Yes, of course, the director works with the town administrator. I mean, she's a department head. The person is a department head, no question. But as an autonomous board, it feels like the screening committee takes the responsibility and the well-deserved and desired responsibility and the state responsibility from this library board to take away responsibility for hiring a director. And as an autonomous board, I feel that in this situation, that once the screening committee has come to a decision to winnow it down to 5 candidates, that it's this board's responsibility to then winnow it down further, if needed. Perhaps all 5 are phenomenal, but we would really prefer to get it down, as Jackie says, to 2 to 3. That is our job, not the select board's job. The select board has a full plate, and the director's salary and responsibilities are all under our purview as the library board. So I'm suggesting that.
I would say the salary's under the purview of the budget.
Correct.
Yes,
Which
it's a
under
done
this
deal.
process is a budget that is under the purview
That's
of
why
this board.
Well, we recommend it to
salary.
you, and then Jackie is the person who.
Just like a department head recommends a budget, the police chief recommends a budget
Right.
to the town. This board determines what budget's going to town meeting.
Correct, absolutely. And that's why we work hard to present you something that is what we really, following the select board's instructions on.
So let me give you another example. I was on the screening committee for the last library director. I was on the joint board that appointed the library director. I went through that process. I asked her questions, budget-related. A lot of the questions that I asked her, all of the candidates that we interviewed in the process, I asked, most of my questions were around budget.
Fair enough.
And I saw folks that were on the screening committee, and then later in the final interview process, questions that were coming from the library trustees were specifically around
Library functions.
items that fall, I would say, under the purview of the library trustees.
Okay.
And I specifically, and hopefully candidates this time aren't watching this part of the meeting, so I'm giving away my questions, but I will probably be asking the same question again, is your town administrator and finance director are providing you guidance on your budget. Like, this is what the budget will be. but your library trustees are saying, forget the guidance, this is what we need.
Okay.
How do you rectify that when you bring it before the select board to actually make an argument for the budget? So my question around budget is, what's your focus? The guidance that the town and the budget authority is giving you, or the library trustees? And what I meant by that is I wanted to hear how that individual works in an environment of conflict. And I don't mean conflict that people are conflicted. I mean one board that you work with daily
Right.
is giving you guidance,
Right.
but the town administrator, the finance team, and ultimately the budget authority, which is the select board, is giving you guidance. How do you rectify that? Those are the questions that I asked that I think,
That you asked the candidate.
yes, I actually think questions like that would have never been asked if it was the single board asking it. Because you wouldn't be asking, how are you managing the conflict when we tell you to do something, but we're also telling you to do something different? That's basically was my question. And so when I looked at that, when I went in later through the multiple budget sessions that I've been with the previous director that departed and the one before, because I asked those questions as well, I felt like I had some history there because I was part of the appointment process. But in both cases, she understood my issue. So I don't look at the library just as the policies that you guys do. That's your purview.
Right.
I look at the library and my fiduciary responsibility.
So,
To the entire town, not
and, correct, and
just one
the
department.
Mass Board of Library Commissioners, who is the state authorization for libraries, agrees with you and puts the responsibility for presenting a budget to the library trustees. So the building, the budget, and the review of the director are our primary goals. And policies. We do not manage programs, we do not manage staff. We, now, I'm happy to be able to say that we work in partnership, and I think it's shown that we've worked very well, because though we go through the nitty-gritty, the details, the micromanaging, and trying to figure out the budget and what the library really does, we also take in serious consideration what the select board has suggested to us is what the town, the big picture of the town, can afford and is looking to put forth. And we definitely take all of that into consideration. And I think what the select board has found over the years is that, personnel issues aside, because that's a whole nother piece of the budget, but what the library has asked for the select board to consider and approve, you have approved it. You have.
Not every year. This year we didn't.
The supplemental, you mean?
No,
But you
that's
approved
that's what I'm
extra
saying. The
money for
personnel is different. We're
Right.
not, yeah, the personnel is from a different pile of money, and that is not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the budget to run the building, not personnel. You guys have said yes. You guys have supported everything, all our projects, everything we've wanted to do, and
You know
you've
why?
made it possible.
Do you know why? Because I think the partnership that the two boards have built through, again, my multiple times being a part of the appointment process, I feel like I have bought into the ownership of the relationship with that library director. So I feel like as one of the two boards, as a member of one of the two boards that has been a part of appointing that position, the same way that I feel bought in the ownership of Chief Doug LaCoste in the fire department, because I have been part of the decision to appoint him. Now, he manages his budget. He doesn't have a separate board that helps guide him. He has a town administrator and a finance team that's guiding him, but in the end, that relationship that has been built through the appointment. So,
I'm sorry,
here's what I want to ask.
I just want to
But
clarify.
here's what I'd want to ask. What is it that you believe would be hurtful about a joint appointment?
First, I'd like to say, when you say you, do you mean you as a select board, or are you talking about yourself? Because I certainly know
As
the
the
whole.
board.
As a
I
board.
agree with
Speaking as
everything
the
board.
Brian has
Right, so
said.
that's what I
Why
wanted
are
to
you trying
clarify.
to discount?
Right.
Why are you trying to eliminate our
I'm not
part
at all.
of it?
I'm not at
You
all.
are part of it. You are on the screening committee.
Correct, but we
Right.
want to follow it all the way through.
Because.
So Allison, just answer the question. Why are you trying to omit?
I'm not trying to omit. I'm sorry if that's what you heard me say. I am not at all trying to omit. I am trying to work in partnership. I'd like to ask Costa to respond to this, because he is on both as a library trustee and as a select board member, and understands very clearly the good work that we've done and how a budget is put forth. But I'm sorry, Debbie, if you've heard me say I want to discard or eliminate or not work in partnership.
Omit.
Omit
Was the word I
was the
used.
word you used. Thank you for reminding me. But we, as a state entity, are guided by the state. We have to be certified. The library has to be certified by the state.
We understand
And
all
I
that.
thank you, because I have said to everyone in legislative meetings and elsewhere how proud I am that Middleton supports the library so unbelievably. There's never a question that we deserve to be certified, and they're supporting that. But we are under state purview. We as trustees are guided by state guidelines, and we're by town charter an autonomous entity. So I'm just trying to say, I in no way would suggest omitting anyone. We have you on our select board. We just are saying that the decision and the skill and the involvement, and Mark, I'd love to hear from you.
Ready.
Okay, go for it.
So it hurts me a little bit to not be on the same side as this board. I think over the past year or so, we've been cohesive. I think it's been better than in years past. That I think it's been maybe even tumultuous, but I think we've done a lot of good work together. And one example is the shortage of staff has created a need to cancel some of the programs a couple of months ago. Since then, I think nearly everyone on the board has stepped up and actually volunteered so that we could continue to run the programs. And it's been eye-opening for me, and I think everyone agrees that it's been great to be a part of that. So, and to see more of the library, more of the things that happen there personally, because it's been many years since I brought my kids to programs at the library. So that's been great, and I think as a board we're moving in the right direction, and it's been better. I like to use the word cohesive. So it hurts me to not agree with the position of the three ladies to my left, to my right. But I do believe in that partnership. I think the working together. I don't think we're going. I think if anything, we're going to gain the respect of the new potential director, which I'm excited about. By the way, I think we've got 5 really good candidates and at least 3 really strong candidates. I'm really excited about the pool. I've been a part of some hiring processes that the best was terrible or not very good. So this is not that. This is the opposite. We've got some really great candidates. So I'm excited and encouraged with what we've got going on. So it hurts me a little bit, but I do believe that this partnership in appointing and ultimately being a part of the select board, being a part of this process is.
And you don't feel they already are on the screening committee and with the ultimate joint?
No,
and I do
because
still want to hear
there's
from you.
There's really only 2 of each of us on there, and I think ultimately at the end, having all of us, I don't think there's any. I don't think anything bad's going to come of having. I think only voting against doing this is going to be.
What are we voting against?
Well, potentially having the select board be a part of this decision.
Not at, I'm sorry.
The joint.
Is that what
jointly
you were
appointing.
saying, Susan, not to have the select board be a part at all?
No.
No.
They're part of the Two of them are part of the screening committee.
Yeah, but Susan was only talking about the law and our guidance from the state and how it differs from the way this process has worked.
So this is the second select board I've served on. I served in the town of Wakefield. The appointment of a library director in the past in the town of Wakefield has been a joint appointment of the Wakefield Library Trustees and the Wakefield, at the time, Board of Selectmen.
And how did that candidate come to the Board of Selectmen? Or Select Board?
It was actually, it was a long time ago. There was actually a screening committee that happened prior to the candidate coming to a joint meeting.
The candidate?
No, candidates.
Okay, so multiple candidates?
Yes, that came to a joint meeting of the Wakefield Library Board of Trustees, and at the time, Wakefield Board of Selectmen, now called Town Council.
Okay, and may I ask who was on the screening committee?
I can't remember who it was.
'Cause I'm suspecting it was the Board of Library Trustees.
No, it wasn't. It was very, I can't remember who it was, but it was a cross-section. There was actually a member of the Friends of the Lucius Beebe, I can't remember what they're called, similar to the Friends of the
The Friends.
There was actually a former library director that served in the screening committee. I do remember that.
Your finance committee.
Similar
It
to
might
what,
have been-
similar
yeah.
to what Middleton does.
Probably didn't look different. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, but similar to what
No,
Middleton
but
does.
my point was, the final appointment was a joint meeting. So, now, not every town may do it that way.
But we suggest doing that way now.
So I think we're hearing two different things.
Yeah.
I think Allison thinks that the screening committee should just have been the library trustees, and I think Susan is thinking that the final selection should just be the library. I think you're talking about two different things.
I'm suggesting, Costa, can you jump in here?
Well,
Well, maybe you should clarify, Allison.
yeah,
Because Susan is saying
Allison,
we
if
should
you
make the
can
final
clarify.
decision. I don't,
Yeah.
that's what, I thought
Yeah.
that's what you're saying, now
No,
you're changing.
I'm agreeing with Susan
As the library to make the final decision.
that the
Correct.
library
You need to
should,
be clearer, because you're not being clear.
I'm sorry. I think the library board should look at these candidates handed down by the screening committee, which included two select board members.
From the select board.
Right.
We got that far.
Right, and it also included townspeople, et cetera, and that those candidates should come to the library board to look at, to meet, to interview, and then recommend to the select board our finalist. It may be one candidate, two candidates, or three candidates. I'm just saying,
That was nothing of what I got out of the first 10 minutes of
I'm
your
so sorry.
conversation. I got what Susan was reading from. I
Right.
totally understood that.
On the same page. You're totally.
So what you're
Yeah.
asking, so Sue,
You
it's
were
got to be a
saying
joint
for-
appointment. The select board must be in on a joint meeting to ratify or to legitimize or to,
Rubber stamp.
Okay, so let's,
You're still,
for
now you're
the
changing. I'm
essence
sorry.
of time,
I'm sorry, you're just changing,
I'm
but
just-
you're changing it again. I'm sorry, Allison. but-
Again?
Well, you were saying that.
I
you
said
were
to
saying
Debbie,
that- wait a
no
minute. I'm
omitting
sorry.
anybody.
1 second. You're saying that we should review say, the 5 candidates that we have right now from last night's
The
meeting.
board,
The Board of Trustees.
trustees of the library.
And then we would recommend, the Board of Trustees, the 5 members would then recommend 2 to 3 to be the finalists that go
Maybe
before-
one.
1, 2, or 3 that would go before the joint meeting.
Correct.
Okay, that is completely different from what my
that
understanding.
is so different. That is 110% off what
I'm
you
so
said.
confused because you said to me we felt the select board is being omitted, and I specifically
Because
said.
that's what you said.
I said I am not trying to omit the select board.
okay, so I think we've got,
Can I just?
so I think what we have is two, yeah, but let me just,
Wrap it up.
I think we have two
you
different
made it-
positions here.
I'm sorry, you made it sound like you said in agreement with Susan Allison, and then you have a different method. So that's what
I agree with what,
You threw it off.
So let's back up 2
Yeah, we
minutes.
gotta back
Excuse me,
up,
for-
'cause this
for
is
just
too
a minute.
confusing.
So the screening committee currently has whittled down 5
candidates.
With select board input.
Semifinalists.
No, the screening committee, this has not
Screening committee,
been
not
a
board.
position of the select board.
But with select board input.
And with library trustee input.
And
with
townspeople.
Residents.
the
Town
Friends of the
residents.
Library
Town
input,
residents.
and with
Right.
resident input.
Yeah, okay, so we're all clear, thank you. And right now, we're down to 5 semifinalists.
Correct.
At which point, we're going to, the screening committee, sorry, I'll be more specific, is going to interview all 5 of them
Over 2 nights.
over 2
Correct.
nights, and we're gonna narrow that down probably to 3.
Or two.
Potentially 2.
More than
potentially-
one.
Right.
More than one.
More than one.
Not more than 3.
Roughly, yes, not set in stone, but those are the parameters. And then, from there, currently, the plan is to bring those 2 or 3 before a joint meeting of this board and that board, to where those 2 or 3 finalists-ish
Are interviewed.
are then interviewed and selected jointly between our 2 boards. So are we all in agreement? That's,
That's the process
That's
as I
what she
understand.
Miss,
I'm suggesting that.
hold on, let me just clarify. Is that an accurate statement?
That is an accurate statement for the current process.
The current process.
And if I may, both of the Mr. Chairs,
Please.
what Allison is suggesting is adding a step
Right.
in the
Thank
middle.
you.
But hang on, you're not gonna like how I keep going.
That's all right.
So Allison is suggesting adding a step where those 2 to 3 finalists go to the trustees, and the trustees only recommend 1, maybe 2 to the select board. However, under the open meeting law, that path is not an option. I feel very confident about that section
Can you
of the
explain?
open meeting law. I'm happy to. So, under the open meeting law, when a public body, hello all of you, is the appointing authority for a position, you have to have interviews for the final person you are appointing in public session.
Correct.
There can only be 1 screening committee ahead of the appointing authority interviewing the candidates, and a full body, a full library board of trustees cannot ever serve as a screening committee because there's a quorum of you that has to meet in public.
Absolutely incorrect. I have served on director hiring committees where the Board of Trustees was the only screening committee.
Respectfully,
Everything was public then.
Everything, it may have been done to preserve confidentiality. All the initial decision-making was in executive session. It has to be. I talked to the AG's office. It has to be done in executive session to preserve confidentiality.
respectfully, I do a lot of these.
And
The
I'm,
process is, yes, and I appreciate that you've done them for libraries. I do them for all of the municipal disciplines.
Yeah, but-
Respectfully, when there's a screening committee, they are allowed to be in executive session. If a library board of trustees is a full public body,
They
is going
cannot.
into executive session, they can do it
yeah,
for reviewing resumes. But then once you are interviewing the candidates, it's got to be in public, so you lose that step.
absolutely not.
What Jackie is describing has also been my experience.
Yeah. I've had the opposite experience.
Okay.
Costa,
No, no, I'm saying other.
would you be expecting to get 2 votes?
No.
1 vote.
Because it's a joint decision.
But you,
When we appointed the screening committee, the select board took 1 vote on 1 position, so I voted as a select board member on that decision, and then the board of trustees voted
Separately.
to fill the other position, and as a member of that board, I voted.
So you got 2 votes.
Because I,
2 different positions.
two different,
Bottom line, 2 votes.
2 votes.
but when,
He's also
on
an
a joint,
he's also an elected member of both boards.
Odd.
at a joint meeting, I will vote once.
Okay.
So, okay. so
Why?
let
It was
me-
a joint meet, I'm sorry,
No,
Maria.
that doesn't make sense.
But the
It was a
decision-
joint meeting of the
decision
screening
as to
committee.
who to appoint, one was made by the select board only, and the other was made by the trustees only.
Because it was gonna be more than 1 candidate.
That's right.
One slot.
2
So-
separate,
Two separate votes.
Right.
When there are 2 separate votes, I should be able to vote as a member of each
Though
board.
I was
But wait a minute,
not.
Costa,
So-
Can you clarify something for me?
So the reason you had the two votes is because you said you were making it on one side with the select board, one side from the library, because there was more than one candidate that we were choosing for a screening committee.
Yeah,
In this case, we get down to one individual is going to be chosen, so you can't have two votes.
Right.
That doesn't.
So, the screening committee, the two members at large, one was appointed by the select board.
Correct.
And one was supposed,
Because there's multiple choices, yeah.
correct, but there were independent decisions of each
I
board.
understand, but in this case, we're only going to go to one person.
And that's why we'll
Right.
only vote once.
And I'm suggesting that after the library trustees, as Susan was saying, does their job and reviews the viable candidates.
You mean the interview or just their resume? As Jackie's making, there's a distinction, Allison.
There is a distinction in the sense that once there are finalists, right now we are at semi-finalists. Once there are finalists, which is at least two people, they have to be reviewed in open session. And it has to be.
So confidentiality is no longer an issue.
Correct. When you're in finalist when it's finalist, it's an open session and it's an interview with the appointing authority. Which in this case, what I'm hearing is a joint meeting of these two bodies is the appointing authority that I thought I heard consensus about a minute ago, maybe not. But once we are at finalists, there is one open public process for interviewing people. And then a deliberation in open session and a selection in open session. But once we're down to finalists, everything is in open session. And if it is a joint appointment as defined by these two bodies, one group can't go before the other and then only bring one forward.
Well,
It has to be.
What if we appoint the right candidate? We go into open session and do the interviews and appoint the right candidate and bring that to a select board meeting for ratification.
I think
one
that the point is that we would then be doing that in open session, and then the confidentiality of multiple people may not want to be seen on.
It's going to be
in
seen
open-
anyway, whether it's a library
Not if
trustee
they don't
meeting
make
or
it-
not.
Not if they don't make it to the finals.
Yeah, but that group, 1, 2, or 3 finalists are going to be losing their confidentiality, whether it's just
Yes, I
a
think that's expected,
five-board
but-
person or a joint meeting.
Yeah. So I'm, and I, again, hate not taking the side of anyone on my board, but knowing that Jackie and Justin's full-time role and education revolves around that, there's a possibility that your previous library board made a mistake and did this incorrectly. I can't, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not trying to be. I'm only going to err on the side of our town administrator and assistant town administrator to continue to move this forward and assume that that's the way that we need to do this. Knowing that and assuming that we need to do that, Costa, love to hear your opinion, and Rick as well, if you're interested.
Which hat are you going to
think
wear with your
Susan.
opinion,
the-
Costa?
Susan,
You
That's what
know,
I'd like to know.
screening committee
because I'm still confused about what
needs
you're asking
to
for.
include people that can assess the various roles of the library director. One, is as a department head of the town, and the amendments to the town charter we voted on in May, put into writing sort of, the practice that, we have been following for years, that the town administrator shall supervise all appointed department heads. So how that person, who is the library director, fits in as a department head, so the select board members should be represented on the screening committee. The library trustees, know how the library functions internally, so they should be represented on the screening committee. That library director also works closely and benefits from the support of the Friends group, so they should be represented. And they should have people at large, because a big part of that job is engaging the community, both inside the building and outside. So the structure of the screening committee, I think, is right. And the way that this screening committee was appointed is, I think, was also right. You know, the trustees, decided on who 3 would be. The select board decided who 3 would be. And the friends, decided, who would represent them on that board. So, and then that does its work and brings the candidates to a joint meeting of the 2 boards to make the final decision. To me, I think.
Wait a minute, you've gone from screening committee to appointing. There's a whole bunch in between,
The screening committee does all the work.
and their job ends.
Narrows it down.
Yeah, so we've got 5 people, and
Well,
then,
it'll be 3, roughly.
Look, we don't know what the screening committee is going to come back with.
Could
We
be
know
1,
it's-
could be 2, could be 3.
right, could be 4, could be
Can't be 1.
5.
It can't be 1. If it's 1, I would recommend we go back to the
So-
table.
I don't see it as one, Brian, we have 5 right
No,
now.
no, no, I'm just saying.
I don't
So-
see it will be.
So to the point of,
No, the screening committee isn't going to be the entity that chooses our director, obviously.
No, they're
gonna
culling
be
the list down.
recommending.
Down to 2 or 3, and then the joint meeting.
they're not recommending a candidate. The screening committee is not going to come back and say, candidate 1 is our top choice, candidate 3 is our second
No.
choice. No, they're going to come back and say,
Right.
that
These 3 are awesome.
These
Let's
these
figure it
three.
maybe 4,
or
I don't
4.
know.
These
I'm
people
using
have the
3 as a-
qualifications according to
I
the,
think 3 is a good guideline.
I'm using 3 as a guideline and as an example for conversation, right?
Only
But-
because Mark and I were there last night.
Well, and I would just say as conversation, because
It's just conversation.
we're in a public meeting, candidates could be watching. Roughly
No,
3.
roughly 3.
Roughly 3.
can I ask Susan to please clarify what she's asking this joint
No, I
meeting?
basically said that this says that the trustees are responsible for appointing.
So you're suggesting to
She was very
omit the select board in
You
that
know,
process?
That this is what hires and evaluates the director.
She's not saying, she's saying the select board not involved, is that correct?
So, yeah,
Okay.
so you're saying that select,
That-
So I would argue that is silent on the select board.
Yes, that's what.
So I would argue that a joint meeting of the library trustees and the select board means that the 5 members of the library trustees are appointing in conjunction with the select board. If the argument was today that, thank you very much, give us your advice and consent, we appreciate it. Now, as a 5-member board, we're going to make our own decision and you have no vote on it, I would argue you are correct on what that language states there. However, you're not being taken out of the process. You're
No, I'm
following.
not saying
No,
you're being-
I get that. So I say that the level of silence on that means why a town like Wakefield did it jointly, why we have done it at least 3 times jointly.
It would have to say exclusively hires, I believe is the point here.
So you're saying that it's a legal, if they don't say exclusively, then,
That's how I read it. Again,
Okay.
I'm not an attorney.
I think
no,
you're
I'm
adding
not
on.
either, and so I was just going by English.
Mr.
right,
Mr. Chairs, as much
Right
as,
about the book, I mean, that's clearly the statement from our guidelines from the state.
And my only 2 cents is, in our bylaws and our charter, the select board is the hiring and appointing authority in the town.
but does it
We
supersede?
have to, no, but that's okay
Yeah.
for me. We're the hiring authority and appointing the town. You know, I can't see the select board not having some purview over whether it's a joint meeting or a vote or whatever for an individual that's gonna be paid by taxpayer money and, so that's just the way
I
I
do-
see it.
I
That's the
do-
way I see it.
I do have a question about something else that's occurred to me is, Costa, you get 1 vote. Are you voting as a library trustee, or are you voting as a select board member?
Both.
But you get 1 vote.
Correct.
But then if you vote as a select board member, it's 5-4, and we have no chance of getting our candidate put forth.
So
Why do you think
that's an
that we
assumption that,
wouldn't even be choosing the same candidate,
I'm just-
Allison. Why
Maybe,
are you
maybe
assuming
not.
that?
That's a supposition, but I'm just looking at all,
Does your board vote unanimously 5-0 on everything?
Mostly.
on a library director.
No, that's
I
not what
would
I'm
say-
asking.
On policies and.
So,
things, yeah.
guess what?
Yes,
Guess what?
yes, we
We've
do.
appointed, not this town administrator, but our previous town administrator was appointed on a 3-2 vote.
3-2 vote. I did not vote for the last library director, so it was a 4-1 vote.
But you still had, as a library trustee, you were still part of the process.
Absolutely.
Okay.
A voiceless part, but
What was the final vote? Do you remember?
4-1.
It was a joint appointment of both boards.
Oh, I'm only looking, I suspect that the select board unanimously
It was
voted.
9-1.
Yeah. Yeah. But in this case, we have a complicated situation where if Costa votes as a select board member, then the trustees are outvoted.
He is voting as a select board member, but as he said, he's also voting as a library trustee member.
But he
he's
can't
gonna
have two
one-
votes.
He's
No,
not.
no.
He has
Said one.
said,
He said
want
one.
to say it again? Because you've said it 9
I
times.
think,
Let's
can
make
I
it
be
10.
clear that he's voting once, but he's voting from the perspective of both boards he serves on, as elected
He's only
officials
getting
do when
one
they're on
vote.
2 boards
One
that
vote.
I
interact.
understand that.
So how are you saying that, I don't understand, Nelson, how you're saying that he's got 2 votes, he's one.
So
You're not being
respectfully to both bodies and both Mr. Chairs, we're 40 minutes beyond the sun.
Yeah, so here's what I'd say. Here's how I'm going to end this.
I said,
I
we're
appreciate
4, they're
I
5.
appreciate the input on this. Here's what I'm telling you, like, so folks at home are watching us. I would expect candidates are watching us. And here's what I'd like to say. If I was going to be the next library director in Middleton, and I know that I have the opportunity to be appointed by the library trustees that I'll be working with every day, but also the appointing authority of town department heads, that also is going to be the board that I'm ultimately going to have to make an argument for my budget, both personnel, capital, equipment, supplies, programs, and otherwise. I'd surely like to have a vote of confidence from both of them.
I
It
agree
may
with
not
you.
be unanimous. Everybody that's appointed and wants to be unanimous, and guess what? Our previous town administrator was not unanimous, and he did a pretty damn good job. And I would say, by the time he left, those other 2 board members, both weren't still on the board, but when they left, they probably would have voted unanimously for him. So I hope that if the candidates, I think if the candidates are watching this, I think it's a good thing to be jointly appointed, and that's the process we've set up, and that's the process we've followed.
I think if the candidates are watching us, and I certainly think they probably are, I think they would be very pleased to see that the town they're coming to doesn't just brush things under the carpet, but puts it out there on the table so all our citizens can hear an honest discussion and an honest review of how this process is going to work. And I really
100%.
applaud the select board for opening this up. This is whatever conclusion we come to, and I can see the writing on the wall. That's not I don't argue with Jackie. She's the expert on open meeting law. But I think a candidate would be very proud to come to a town that we work all so well and openly together.
Okay. Anything further?
I do not.
Anything further?
No, sir.
Well, thank you. Unless anyone else has any other.
Susan, how are you feeling?
You know, I'll go with what the group wants, but, you know, it's a matter of semantics, and
We know which way it's going.
Yeah,
We're out
yeah.
numbered.
We're outnumbered, no question about it. But it
Gotta
is,
know what's in front of you.
yeah. And, I mean,
This is why I love a democracy.
Maybe.
No, this is why, hey, beats the alternative all day long.
Yeah.
well said.
Well, obviously, democracy is better than socialism or communism, yes, I think we can agree.
No, I love the opportunity to have this discussion. This is very valuable to me, to
If
be
I didn't care
heard.
about the library, I wouldn't care about who appoints the person. And
Well,
if
I think you
didn't
care
about
very
the-
much.
If you didn't care about the library, you wouldn't care about the appointment process.
And
I'll
quite
say, Brian, I think you care about every department, though. I don't think you care more for the library than any other department.
No, because
Equally.
that's the role of
That's
this
the role
board.
of
Well,
this
I'm
We're
saying,
not-
I think it's
We're
equal.
not the police department board.
No, I know that.
We're not the fire department
Right,
board.
that's my point.
We're the
It's
select.
not
board.
one over the other.
And to go back to what you said earlier, I'm glad the select board has the financial acumen to really review not only our budget, but the hiring of a director, the finances, because I bring library experience. I don't bring in-depth financial experience. That's not my strength.
Yep.
So I'm here advocating for a library board.
And in my opinion, I believe the select board is doing the same, just from a different seat. Which is why I've started this meeting by saying I believe that it's in our best interest to work together on this.
No question, Mark.
We need to call it,
So you can adjourn your,
our meeting separately from yours.
and
As well
once
as-
you adjourn yours, we're actually going back into executive session on other topics, and then we'll be adjourning after that.
Sounds like fun.
Hopefully, it's not too long.
Does anybody have any other questions, comments, concerns
Nope.
before we
Nope.
adjourn our meeting?
The only comment I will make is, one, thank you, but I also, in an open meeting, and I've done it at the library, and I think we've all talked about, I want to thank Jackie again for the work that she has done at the library. It's really commendable what she has done, how much she has learned. Even last night, talking to us about the screening committee, I know that's her main hat, HR in a lot of ways, but what she's done at the library has been incredible, and I want that to be known in front of the select board.
I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, Jack-
Again to you for saying that.
Thank you.
Before you adjourn, thank you. Just to like quickly gloss over the compliments, because I don't love
You're
that.
blushing.
Come on, Jackie, you're blushing. We
Would
see it.
October 9th be a good evening for finalist interviews for everybody that's sitting at these tables?
October 9th?
Sorry, just trying to nail down logistics.
day of the week
Please.
is that?
It's a Thursday.
Thursdays are tough for me.
Aren't you doing citizens again?
I have my wonderful contributor, JJ. Okay.
I cannot do the 9th.
What
I
about
can't-
Wednesday, the 8th?
I
Going
can't
back?
do 6, 7, 8, or 9. I will.
6, 7, 8, or 9?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, cool, cool,
traveling.
cool,
I'm
cool.
traveling for work.
And I'm traveling after
Pull it
that.
off on Monday if you can.
When are you back from your travel?
Let me please.
I get back from my travels, I think it's the 17th or the 18th.
You're gone from the 6th to the 18th?
I'm gone from no, I'm available
The
the
8th?
7th or the 8th. I can't, the 9th is not great for me, and then I leave 1, 2, 3, 4,
Brian, did you
5.
say the 10th you can't do either?
I am, well, 10th is a Friday.
Right, but you,
I mean, I could do the 10th. I don't know.
I can do the 10th.
Let me regroup and I'll send out an email.
All right.
I don't want to wait that long.
I'm sorry, the 10th is a Friday?
It's a Friday.
Are you available on the 10th?
I could be,
Brian
but,
said he could be. He just said it.
yeah, I can be.
I can make it, so I could
Why
be
don't we,
here too.
why don't we have Jackie ping us all,
Okay.
and folks can,
People are saying during the day on Friday the 10th.
I
I can
could
do the
make.
10th.
I can arrange, I can work the 10th.
Okay, I will provide that and any other options I'm able to come up with that don't
But
conflict
Brian,
with
you are
everyone's
okay with that,
obligations.
the 10th? I thought you said no.
No, the 9th I couldn't.
Just making sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm back the 9th as well.
Okay, I'll be in touch.
So it was the 10th, would we be okay? I don't know if the candidates could do an afternoon, would we be okay with anyone opposed to an afternoon?
Prefer.
Morning?
Even a morning, yeah.
Okay.
Get some coffee, make a thing of it.
Yeah, we'll get coffee and donuts.
Like really heavy-duty coffee?
Oh, yeah, no, hardcore coffee.
Could I ask a question? When
High
we do the
octane.
joint meeting,
Mm-hmm.
can we do it at the library?
Good idea.
The AD room.
I like where your head's at, Brian.
The AD room. is
Good
good.
idea.
Not the
Yeah,
trustees.
good idea.
Not on the 10th, we
He
can.
never walked into Memorial Hall until his first day. We didn't even let him in to see what the
Hid me
building was
from
like.
I think she just said we can't do the 10th. the summer
Well,
program.
but the thing is, there's a program at 12:30, so do you want to start at 9 and get out of there by lunchtime?
Yeah.
I can make that work.
What's the program? Because it depends on the setup too. Do they need time?
It's one that we can make it work. As long as we're out of there by noon, I can make it work with the staff of the library, because it's a half day of school, so we have a tween program midday.
Oh, my goodness.
So I can do 9 to noon,
You think for the candidates, the morning won't be an issue?
People come for job interviews all
Candidates
days
make
and time.
state work that they can be a
That's-
candidate.
You can't move the program up an hour?
No, because of getting out of school time.
Half-time day of school, they get
I get you.
Let me put it in the hopper and I'll follow up with everybody.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay.
So I need a.
Need to adjourn, York.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn the library
second.
board.
Seconded by Susan, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you all for.
guys.
Good night.
We appreciate it.
Okay, so we
Have a
are
good
going,
rest of your night.
we are going to enter executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to discuss strategy with respect to non-union personnel. And we will not be returning to open session, and we will be adjourning after that. So, is there a motion?
So moved.
There's a motion, is there a
Second.
second? There is a
Second.
second. Could I have the clerk take the roll?
Rick,
Yes.
Costa,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yeah.
And I am a yes.
Okay, so we stand in executive session.